Since some of us came ahead of time and it's now 5:01, I want to go ahead and jump right in. Thank you for showing up today. I hope that this will be kind of an ongoing relationship that we can all continue to develop with one another or to start for the very first time. My name is Joel Rinsema. I'm the Managing Artistic Director of Kantorei. I believe this is the end of my sixth year with Kantorei. In my previous life, I was down in Phoenix where I was I wore many hats, but I spent 25 years with the Phoenix Chorale, serving. I was a singer with them for 23 years. And for 15 years, I was the president, CEO, and assistant conductor. And so I've kind of worn all the hats in the nonprofit performing arts community. And when I first moved to Denver 5-6 years ago, boy, I was just overwhelmed with the number of adult community-based ensembles, from amateur large group symphonic type choruses to chamber professional groups. And I think I've got a running list that Nathan Payant had made a couple of years ago that I really would love to update, but I think on that list was 65 choirs along the Front Range, which is just overwhelming to think that there's that many organizations trying to do same or similar things. But here we are together, a good portion of those 63 choirs, and thought, well, you know, in the past I've wanted to get us all together, or many of us together. What better time than during a pandemic when we don't have the excuse if we have too many rehearsals and too much score study to take the time out so I really appreciate that, and I look forward to getting to know you more and your organizations more. You know, I had said to some of you earlier, and I kind of alluded to in my email, I really hope that this forum doesn't go the direction of, you know, evaluating all of the different data that's out there and talking about how, or trying to guesstimate when we're all going to be able to come back together and rehearse and perform. I do want to, obviously, I do want to hear about your plans this year and next year and the year after. But I know it's really hard at this point for any of us to say definitively, we're going to start our season in September and start rehearsals with, you know, with everybody present, because that's frankly, as most of you know, that's probably not a reality at this point in time. But that said, I want to know what you're doing for your different organizations. You know, I think in this virtual room, we've got people representing smaller chamber professional choirs to the Denver Choir League, which is a brand new, relatively new, I would say, Katy, choral organization that's really kind of out of the box in how they operate. And you know, Katy's been bringing in 150 singers together in very non-traditional spaces, doing non-traditional performances, and how she's dealing with this and how it affects her. So I thought I would go ahead and start. And like I said, I don't want to control things, but I will help moderate and just kind of ask people to introduce themselves after I'm done and talk a little bit about their organization, then kind of really answer some of the questions that I propose that we discuss. And so I'll start. Kantorei, we canceled the rest of our season, obviously. We canceled, which entailed our final concerts of the year. Our fundraiser event, we were going to do a special event with Chanticleer in conjunction with the University of Denver, and that had to be canceled, obviously. And so I think we were one of the first ensembles to just cancel the rest of our season. Part of that was because I serve on a COVID-19 task force at First Plymouth Congregational, and there are a lot of medical professionals on that board as well, and so I kind of had the frontline information. What are we considering for next year? Right now, we're currently under the assumption that we're not going to be starting at all in the fall. I think our earliest projection that Kantorei would start up, and this is the plan we've been doing with our budgeting and our artistic planning, is if we're lucky to start rehearsing after January of 2021. If we're very lucky, very fortunate. We do have different scenarios with our budget that would cancel all of next season or have us starting in January. Obviously, we have some plan Bs and Cs if we're for some reason able to start before then, but that's kind of the assumptions we're going with, that we'll start our season in January. currently engaging with our singers, staff, board, and patrons. I think that's very, very fluid right now. We just came off a major fundraiser that we did. We weren't planning to do a major fundraiser this spring. We were going to give our singers some time off, but we did our 30-30-30 campaign, in which we asked all of our singers, board, and staff to try to get 30 people in 30 days to give at least $30. And so we had a financial goal of 50,000, and we did reach that goal in 30 days during the month of April. And so that did allow us to connect with our patron base pretty significantly during that time. I've given them a little bit of a rest over the last week and a half since we wrapped up that fundraising campaign, because we were kind of oversaturated the market with our teasers from the season. But I think moving forward, yeah, we will try to use archival recordings, video. Now is when I wish we would have videoed every concert that we've ever done in the past, so we had a lot of content. And my pledge to the organization moving forward is that anytime we stand up and sing, I will have a video camera up and ready to capture us. Donors, patrons, board, our board's meeting regularly, sometimes several times a week, to talk about the budget and financials. How has it affected budgeting process? I've already talked about that. Our major concern is to see what's going to happen in another year and a half when SCFD funding is significantly cut because of the significant revenue drop off from the sales tax. Also, some of our large foundations will not be as probably as generous because they won't have as much to give away, frankly, and won't have to give as much away because they will have taken such a loss in their portfolio. Something positive that's come out of everything, it's for me, I'm finding new challenges, and I love challenges. And so, the creativity is a little trying to find new creativity is a little overwhelming, but I'm embracing some of the challenges. And then how best can we serve as resources for each other? I think that will be determined as we continue our conversations. So without anything further, Brian Eichenberger, why don't you introduce yourself and your organization and kind of tell us what's going on?
Well, thank you, first of all, for organizing this. I think it's a great idea. I'm Brian Eichenberger. I conduct the Columbine Chorale here in Denver, and it's been in existence now about 30 years or so. And so it's a fairly small group right now. We're only at about 45 to 50 singers. Well, we're kind of at zero right now, but I don't have a lot of answers. I'm mainly here to listen. Because we really don't, obviously this is uncharted territory. None of us really know what direction to go. But I'm very curious to hear what all of you are planning to do. Obviously, yeah, we shut down and don't have any plans to start going again until after Christmas. And even then, it's not really plans. It's just a goal or a shot in the dark. I'm going to meet with my board next week, and we're going to try to at least begin to hash out a plan of how we're going to cope with this, both financially and in terms of keeping our membership engaged and all of that stuff here for the for the remainder of the year. So I don't really have any answers to some of that stuff at this point, like most of us. Our budgetary thing, the same thing with that. We're going to take a look at that and find out where we are. I think we're in pretty good shape right now to withstand the rest of the year, but the only thing positive I think that's come from me is that several of my singers have reached out to me to say that this whole ordeal has given them a new perspective on just how important what we do together is, and how it's that the sense of camaraderie and brotherhood and fellowship that we all get together that is gone now and can't really be recaptured virtually, or at least nobody feels like that's something that you can really do. And so I think it's had the effect of kind of waking everybody up to realize, wow, we really are missing something, and we need to find ways to get it back. So I think there's a positivity in that outlook, and that looking forward and trying to figure out what we're going to do. So, I feel cautiously optimistic. I just don't, it's going to be interesting to see how all of us are going to be able to fare after this long hiatus. I think ultimately we're gonna benefit, but boy, it's sure dark and dank right now. But anyway, that's all I had. I didn't want to sit here and ramble. I'd love to hear what all you have to say. And again, I appreciate your putting this together.
Michael.
I'm Michael Sattler. I'm the executive director of the Rocky Mountain Arts Association, which is the umbrella nonprofit for the Denver Gay Men's Chorus and the Denver Women's Chorus. The Rocky Mountain Arts has been here since 1982, so 3rd anniversary will be 2022. The choruses right now are singing with about 130 to 150 singers. We, of course, canceled our concert. We literally canceled Motown and More, which we were doing at the Ellie Hawkins, the Thursday before the mayor came out and canceled everything. So we actually canceled the concert before the mayor came out to cancel the concert. Like everybody, we're trying to figure out how to remain relevant and to keep our members and singers engaged. So just real quick, Mark Zwilling is also on the call. Mark, if you would wave. He's the Denver Women's Chorus Artistic Director. And then we also have Raul Dominguez, who came from Texas. He's the Assistant Artistic Director. And then Allison is hiding without her video. She is the Assistant Director for the Denver Women's Chorus. So we're well represented on this call. Just real quickly, we also did a fundraiser, COVID matching campaign. We raised $20,000 with our major donors and board and matched that just actually this week. We're hoping to get to, I'm hoping to get to 50,000 in the next month or so. And what we're doing is we're conserving that cash. If you haven't read Michael Kaiser's 10-page summary for arts organizations, it's a really good summary. Michael was the former executive director of the Kennedy Center. And he's part of, for those who are on the Bloomberg program, he has been doing several seminars and has a very, very good paper about the 4 phases that he believes the arts organizations are going to go through. And I'd be happy to share that with this group. One of his tenets is to only look 4 months in advance because you don't know the uncertainty, as well as to conserve cash. And what we are trying to do is pivot towards, again, social media. We do have a lot of videotapes that both Raul, Allison, and Mark and James, the artistic director for Denver Gay Men's Chorus, will be editing. And one of our big concerts, of course, is June and Pride Month. We're going to be pivoting to a virtual postings of that. We're looking at doing virtual cabarets in October and December. That's still very tentative, what that looks like. Mark's church does have a studio that we're looking at producing, a recording studio that they do a St. Andrew United Methodist Church services on. And so we are looking at what that might look like for us in October and December. Our plans are to come back in January, but I think that's, again, we'll have to see how that works. With 150 singers, you need a football field to do a rehearsal. And of course, that's not going to be very logistically promising. We have our board meeting pretty much every week to 2 weeks to give us guidance on how we should be forward. We have furloughed the contract staff. We're doing a project by project basis right now, as well as reduced salaries for the artistic staff and myself. All of that is to get to a position where we can survive when we reopen and to have a significant amount of cash when that happens. I would be interested in hearing what other people are doing on the platforms of either virtual rehearsals, which we found to be horrendous. You can't really do it. You've got a lag time on the Zoom media, and it sounds ridiculous when you virtually rehearse, at least what we've found. So that's kind of where we are. And I actually would love to collaborate with this group of some festival in the future. Of what that looks like, I don't know, but I think it would be so much fun to have all the choruses get together and somehow sing. But that's all for right now. Mark or Raul or Allison, do you have anything else to add?
I meant to add to what I would also be very interested in finding out, because I think there could be a subgroup from this group. Brian and Michael, if you can just kind of bring us up to speed. Have you applied for PPP? Have you received PPP? Are you working with EIDL, emergency grant funds received, and EIDL loans?
Sure. Yes, we did receive PPP in the first round, go around. So we were very lucky to do that, and that'll run out for us. We basically paid our April and May staff from that. And then we have applied for the IDL, and that's kind of like gone into a black hole. I get an email like every 2 weeks that says, yes, we have your application and we're processing it.
Great. Brian, anything from you? No. Okay. Kantorei did receive the EIDL emergency grant. We did get the PPP, and we just got notification that we've been approved for the EIDL loan part of the program. And so my board is having an emergency meeting tonight to find out exactly what that all means, because it is a pretty hefty loan over a 30-year period of time, and they're not sure what they think about it yet. So, Leah, how about the Hebrew Chorale?
So I'm Leah Pierre, and I co-direct with Carol Kozak Ward. Colorado Hebrew Chorale has a mission that's kind of different from, I think, everybody on this call, because our mission focuses on Jewish music of all kinds. So I would venture that there's very little issue of us programming anything that you guys would be duplicating. We shut down as of March 12th, the rest of our season, which sadly was just before a collaborative concert that was going to include the Denver's Women's Chorus and MB's MSU treble choir, and one of the Denver Children Choirs groups, and East High School Seraphim. So this is something that we do every other year to raise awareness and funds for Safe House Denver. And given that we are a teeny tiny organization, would have meant a huge amount of exposure for us. And we got grant money for that, which the grantors have given us an extension for. So hopefully we will be able to reschedule it, but if it'll be in 2021, who knows? We are fortunate that we have very little overhead. We rehearse in a synagogue that allows us to be there for free. So we have no rent, we have no bills essentially. We have applied for the Colorado Creative Industries emergency funding, which we're hoping to use that to pay our 2 accompanists for the rest of this season, or for the rest of the calendar year. As far as Carol and myself, you know, we will get paid if there's money, and if not, then we won't. So we have worked very hard to raise awareness, to raise our profile over the last 3 years. And so for us to go dark, we have very little capacity to put out social media stuff. I am the tech department. And so you all know the amount of time and energy that goes into that. So we have been having weekly meetings. I've been having weekly meetings with my women's group. We don't sing, but I've been presenting, and I've asked other people have volunteered to present regarding repertoire that I was thinking of giving, including next year. We had a session last night that one of our singers led about music and spirituality and how that connects and nourishes you. And so it's really been a very big positive, because the singers have really shared things that during a regular rehearsal you simply don't have the time to do. What we're hoping to do is to ramp up to doing these kinds of presentations and open them up to the public, because I don't think we have video that we would be. I actually do video record all of our performances, but they're not always stuff that you want to put out on YouTube. They're wonderful and exciting in live performance, and then you listen to it afterwards and go, oh my God, I didn't hear that live. Yeah, so we are not meeting as often as you guys, because we're small, and our board, we've kind of been shell-shocked for the past 3 months. So I'm hoping we will gear up soon. Carol, did you want to add anything else as far as what we're doing? You need to unmute. Carol, you're muted. Yeah.
No, I have nothing further to add. I do want to point out to my colleagues that also there's applications are being accepted through West Staff for the COVID-19 relief effort. I think they are very competitive, as are all the grants, as we already know. I think they will be, the decision will be made for West Staff in the middle of June. I wish all of us Ratsaruck. That's pretty much where we have to be. And I've reached out to some of you privately in the chat. There is a beautiful piece that I'm planning to circulate to some of my colleagues, and you're all welcome to hear it. It is both in Hebrew and in English, and the Hebrew is a snap. I just want to say that at the outset. And the message of the text is "Heal us now." And I look forward to a time where we will all either gather together and sing this all together, or, to put it differently, in the spirit of the collaborations for which the Colorado Hebrew Chorale has been involved since we started back in the mid-1990s. We'll sing it at your concert with you if you'll come and sing it with us at our concert. So let us all hope for great things going forward. I did speak with one singer this afternoon who very much wanted to talk not so much about their feelings about whether or not they're okay going back to rehearsals, because that's another conversation. I'm sure everybody has read about the information in Washington State with that chorus and the choir, I believe it was in the Netherlands in March. So we know that, you know, you can't mess with the science here. Choral singing is bad for one's health in terms of being part of the COVID situation. All of that being said, that person said they would be certainly willing to talk about 10 or less for a sectional, so we don't have to worry about a football field. Okay, and with that, thank you everybody for being here, and I will let Joel pick it up and keep it going.
Thanks, Carol. I just definitely keep an eye out for that West Staff grant opportunity. I did go onto their website today, and it says their grant is closed, even though they haven't even opened it. So just want to let you know, if you go to their website, it says it's closed. They're no longer accepting applications.
I did it last weekend, so let's hope for the best, at least for us.
Yeah, so I've sent an email to find out, because I know CCI just sent out that notification about the West Staff. So it might very well be closed. They may have very limited funds. But
would you spell that for me, West Staff? What?
W-E-S.
West AF.
Okay, thank you.
It's the Western States Arts Federation. They sponsor organizations just in the West. Fantastic. Well, good to hear from you, Leah and Carol.
One other thing is I wanted to thank you for doing this, because so often the conferences that we go to do not focus on the unique issues of community choirs. And I think it's great for us to get together and have our unique perspective together.
Yeah, fantastic. And we've got such a wide variety, and that's why I use the term community-based choirs, because we do have professional choirs in here too. And having come from the professional world, you know, professional choirs always want to say, yeah, we're community, but we're also professional. And I think with what Tom and others are doing with their professional level choirs, and if you haven't seen Tom's video, we'll get to him in a little bit, but they're doing some great things over there, and I'm excited to hear from him. But Raul, did you have anything to add from the Denver Gay Men's Chorus?
In addition to what Michael said, hello everyone, I'm Raul Dominguez. I moved here less than a year ago from New York with the Denver Gay Men's Chorus now. Like some others have mentioned, we meet with our singers every Sunday. We have just little mini concerts with each other. There's no way to rehearse, obviously, but just a way to keep some of our members engaged. In addition to engaging with footage, we're also looking at virtual trend options, dare I say a virtual choir, and with that, I'll say a Hail Mary tonight. Personally, we're also, I'm looking to begin a webinar series over the summer with some prominent conductors from our field. Just received a grant for that, so if you are interested, just for professional development reasons, keep an eye out for that. And then I just started my first online virtual voice studio. If you haven't tried it, I'm open to giving tips on how to work Zoom for virtual voice lessons for your members or whomever you can engage with. Good luck, everyone, and I look forward to meeting everyone virtually. Joel, I believe you're muted.
Yes, I was. Kelly.
Hello, I'm Kelly Parmenter. I'm the conductor of the Colorado Choir. Colorado Choir has been around over 40 years. Also in this meeting is Mel Zeman, who is our Board of Directors President, and I asked him to be here also. We do 3 large performances a year. We only got in December, and everything else got canceled. And before we had the opportunity to make the decision whether or not to cancel, our venue canceled on us. And that is my concern, one of my concerns about when we return. Will our rehearsal venue allow us to return? Because we run 70, 75 members. And if not, I don't know where we would rehearse. My board, I'm a bit uncomfortable, and I can say this in front of the president, that they are functioning like we're going to start like normal in September, and I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think it's realistic. But we haven't really had a discussion about what we will do. I think that we need to move ahead with making plans and not waiting and seeing. As far as communication, we have a monthly newsletter that goes out not only to members but to our audience. We have subscribers to that, and since we've been benched in our season, each month I've been sending out a song with a paragraph or so about, you know, uplifting, and I've gotten a lot of feedback about that. Thank you so much for, you know, that for starting my day. I've been emailing the membership, but as I was sitting here and I was listening to Brian and looking around the screen, I was thinking, you know, I could set up Zoom meetings with my sections. And I think that would be a really good idea. And I thought I'd share it because I just had that idea. I get a lot of texts and emails and phone calls of people feeling very separated from the music. I feel the same. And a personal challenge for me has been, how do I remain positive and send out things to my members so they're not going, we'll never sing again. And so, you know, that's hard. It's hard. And they're all looking to us to say, it's okay, we'll get back to it, even if I don't feel like it's okay. Our budget seems to be okay. I don't think it's our biggest concern. Thankfully, our December concert is the largest concert we do. So we had tremendous ticket sales, and that's helped a lot. But there was, in March, we were supposed to premiere a new piece by Randall Stroop. And, you know, we spent a whole lot publicizing and prepping, and that's gone. And who knows if it will happen next year, who knows it, you know, and we've been in touch with him and he understands. And I said, you know, go ahead, publish. You know, I can't hold him up on a world premiere, but I think that's everything I'm supposed to say.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Valerie.
Muted.
Hey.
Excuse me, just a second. Sign him up.
At that mayor's meeting today, I don't know who it was on the mayor's meeting, but right before they muted, they said, "Shut up and sit down."
I heard that.
And I was hoping it was the dog.
He was quiet this whole time until you called my name. Maybe he knows my name. Valerie Montaño. I'm the founder and director of the Denver Chorale. We're 10 years old. As far as cancellations, ditto. Let me save you some time, the same as everybody, really. Going on, how are we currently engaging with our singers? Okay, we just had a board meeting last night. We're brainstorming quite a bit. Our treasurer commented in a year or two, whenever we start up again, what if most of the people are just gone? And we'll start out with very few people. So my idea is, no, let's keep our family together. I suggested last night, we rehearse on Tuesdays. Let's get a roster together. Let's start again in September, as we always do. Tuesday evenings, 7 to 8, make it shorter than a rehearsal. Maybe every other week, do a karaoke thing where people practice their stuff, accompaniment tracks, whatever it is, and they just share it on Zoom. We have a lot of ham bones in our group. And some that are not, but would love to just tune in and see everyone's faces. And then every other week, maybe just do the chats with everybody. But the thing is, we are family. Let's stay together. This time is such an important time for our support systems. So yes, let's really work on the personal parts of this to keep us all together. We had some other ideas too. It's hard to say what we're going to be doing right now, but things like making videos, teaching videos for the classrooms, helping with virtual lessons with different schools and preschools and daycares, instruments of the orchestra, playing what we have at home. I mean, it's endless, right? Sing-alongs, we could go on and on with that kind of thing. Let's see. Okay, what else? Something positive. Okay, so as I reach out to every person who has ever sung with us, I'm going to point out. Oh, also, I should say about our group that we're only 10 years old. My singers are young, 20s, 30s, 40s. We sang at Carnegie Hall a year ago. I'm lucky that it was last year. My singers are still paying for that trip, at their ages. And so often, we have people who quit because they got a new job, or they got a second job, or they got a third job, or they lost their job. At this point, they can be in any situation and they can still join us. No dues is what we're talking about. Suggested donation, but no dues. Tune in if you want, don't tune in if you don't have time. And what else was I going to say with this? And also, this is the first time that we have no geographical limits at all. One of my singers is going to school in Ireland. Sure, join us, right? That's one positive that came from this. And then in the next year or two, maybe that person from Ireland will move back to Denver. Who knows? But let's stay together. The personal part of this is going to be so important. And that's it.
Thanks, Valerie. Krista.
I think there might be two Kristas on this meeting, but I'll go
Krista
ahead.
Beckman.
My name's Krista Beckman. I'm the assistant conductor with Voices West. We are a community choir with about 60 members right now, and most from all over the metro area, but mostly from Southwest Denver. Of course, we canceled all of the rest of our season. We got to have our concerts actually on the first weekend of March before everything shut down. And then immediately we canceled rehearsals and our May concert as well. We have actually had some success having virtual rehearsals, which using that term very loosely, through Facebook Live, where the artistic director, Mike Kreuger, and our accompanist have actually been together in the same room, but spaced very, very far apart. Mike chose music that was public domain with all of the voice parts doubled in the piano, or a good piano reduction provided. And so singers were actually able to tune in on Facebook Live and sing along with just their part at home. We have lots of married couples in the choir, so they had fun singing their parts together as well. And then so we did that for the last 3 weeks from 7 to 8 every Monday, which is our normal rehearsal day. And then we would have Zoom chats after that. And so that has been a really effective way we found so far to keep singers together. We're on break from that now because our season is over, but we may come back to something like that in the summer. And a lot of singers have just expressed their appreciation to keep singing. You know, he gives vocal coaching as usual over the Facebook Live. And so I think singers appreciate that opportunity, and they really like being able to check in with each other through Zoom. So that's been good. You know, of course, like everyone else, we're extremely fluid at this point as far as next season is concerned. You know, there has been discussion of maybe January, maybe not, but of course, it's all depending on what's safe and what isn't. There's been talk of virtual choir videos, making just a few pieces, putting those together, and maybe offering like a premium subscription feature for people where, you know, if you want to purchase this entire video, you can pay $5 or whatever. So something like that, possibly in place of our October and December concerts.
Great. Kevin Crow.
Hi, I am Kevin Crow. I'm artistic director of 3 different groups in the Denver metro area, 3 very different groups. I have a show choir up in Thornton, the Northland Chorale. Sine Nomine is a smaller SATB chamber group, and the Sage Singers is a new group, and it's a 50-member group for LGBTQ elders and seniors. So they've probably had the most significant difficulties with everything that's going on right now. So Sage just straight up Sine Nomine just straight up took a break, decided we're just gonna wait and kind of see how things go. Northland, we had to stop maybe 2 weeks before our concert. And instead of setting a start date to come back, because that's so hard right now, we've kind of we're in the process of setting kind of some rolling possible start dates. It's almost like a weird name that tune, like I can get that concert in 10 rehearsals, or no, I can get that concert in 8 rehearsals. So just kind of looking and see what we can do with whatever time we can actually meet. And I think that kind of gives people some hope and some options. Sage has been the interesting one because they are still meeting. We are working on a virtual choir video. That's a thing. And they keep telling me it's easier than I thought it was going to be. I say, yes, for you it is. For me, it's not, because I am also our tech person. And we did the virtual Zoom rehearsals, and we stopped for a bit because we had a couple of singers who said they weren't getting a lot out of them. So we put a survey out to the group and just asked, what would you like? What do you want right now? And we opened it up to a group discussion. And we actually had a lot of people who said very strongly, like, I am 75 years old. I am widowed. I have nobody at home with me. I need this. And people who said, this is my only creative artistic outlet. And I see all these other groups doing these virtual choir things. We should do that. And so it was kind of heartwarming to see that it really mattered to the membership that we kept doing something. We use the professional tracks from choraltracks.com. We pay for that subscription. If you're not familiar, it's $1,000 for a year, and you get professional rehearsal tracks with part predominant singing, accompaniment. They're fantastic. He does a great job. And we do something similar as what Krista was saying, where I will play the track through their audio and they'll sing along. I do vocal coaching based on what I can see, a lot of stuff with posture, breathing, mouth position, that kind of stuff, which I realize I need a bigger screen to try and judge that kind of stuff. But we do about 20 minutes of vocal work. We do about 20 minutes of sectional work. And then we have a moderated group discussion. We have a theme every week. What's something people don't know about you? What have you been arrested for? That was a fun discussion. And we try to keep it light. But we did have one Sunday where we kind of had, it was like a big group therapy session. because we have a lot of singers that are mourning the loss of music. And for our group in particular, and I'm sure Rocky Mountain Arts is experiencing this too, singers that are mourning the loss of pride this year, that's a really big deal for people who have fought for pride their entire lives, to not have that. And so we had some sharing about like what it meant and what it meant to be in a gay and lesbian chorus and how that kind of played into it. And so just we've gotten some really just heartwarming and beautiful responses from people about that. So that's been really nice. Yeah, I think we with that group in particular, we have 3 concerts a year, and our themes are National Coming Out Day, Valentine's Day, and Pride. And so we're still trying to plan ahead. Any music that we have can roll over to the next time we get to it. Some of the singers are really enjoying getting involved in that planning process right now, because they have plenty of time to listen to stuff. So I'd say, I think our budget stuff, we're similar to, I think Kelly was saying the same thing, that the space, or no, Leah, I'm sorry. Leah was saying that we were able to use our space for free. Since I'm married to the Minister of Music, they're not gonna kick me out. And so we don't have a ton of overhead on the space. So our budget stuff, we're floating for now, and just trying not to spend a whole lot. I'm extremely grateful to my boards that they're still paying me. That's been pretty fantastic. Oh, and as far as being resources for each other, I've been seriously impressed by the stuff that I've seen about what people are thinking of doing moving forward. And there were some really great resources shared on how to do a virtual choir. And there's so much information that's out there that I think anything like that, you know, none of us are doing what we are doing now for the first time. Somebody has done it before. And it's encouraging to hear other people say they're doing the same things I am, because it makes me feel like I'm not just making it up. But I mean, yeah, just as much as we can share any little how-tos, tips, things that are working well for you, I think is great.
Great, Kevin. There's been a request, and I think this is great, following on what Kevin's been talking about, his engagement with the singers. Raul just mentioned that they're looking at doing a poll of their membership to try to find out what kind of engagement they're looking for. And Raul, if you want to take a little bit of time, but I think what we'll do at the very end of this is make sure that we have everybody's contact information, because I do want to encourage dialogue after this meeting. But Raul would be especially looking to know what kind of engagement your singers have been interested in, so that they can help develop a poll. So Raul, can you just want to talk to that a minute, and then we'll go to Katy?
Michael, jump in if I say anything incorrect. I believe we're just wanting to know what our singers, what our singers want. We absolutely do not want to waste our singers' time. Several of our singers are still considered essential workers, and they are involved in many different things in the Denver community. However, we are trying to gauge how best to move forward as everyone else is. And I believe the mission of our poll is to simply figure out what they want, how to keep relevant with them, keep relevant with the community, and move forward in the fall.
So if any of you have done a poll like that with your singers, be in touch with Raul after this meeting. And again, we'll make sure that we have everybody's contact information available. Katy.
Everyone, I am kind of new to this version of Choral Land. I started Denver Choir League last year, and we are a drink in hand choir. We rehearse and perform in bars and restaurants and breweries. We primarily serve young professionals, 21 to 45, but we're unlimited in age. And we have grown really, really fast in the last 2 years. On our roster, when we left, we had 160 active singers, and we have over 350 who've sung with us in the last 2 years. So quite a lot of people in Colorado who are wanting to sing, which is awesome. We had to cancel our collaboration with Roger Holland, actually, who's also on this call, when the Spirituals Project, and we had such a cool collaboration also with the dance company lined up for May, or late April, actually. So that was gone. And next season, like for everybody, kind of who knows. And I'll be real honest, I went into hibernation for the last 8 weeks. I did not jump on the, okay, let's fix all the problems right now train. I'm also a high school teacher in DPS. And so I was trying to transition to online teaching, and that is a whole thing. So that was sort of what I had to do. And so I went in that direction, and we were lucky that we had 3 performance cycles this year. So we really had a lot of programming already. What's unfortunate is we had folded in about 45 brand new singers to DCL and had 1 rehearsal with them before we had to sayonara. So trying to figure out now, I'm starting to be in the mindset where I can start to tackle some of these problems and move forward. And I think some of the webinars and conversations that we've been having as a field are helpful to me in order to say, okay, this is really not going to happen for a while, so we better make some contingency plans. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just, Raul, yesterday sent out a poll to my singers and just said, what do you guys want to do? You know, because for us, the music is the byproduct of sort of the experience. Like for us, it's all about being together with people who have a common interest in this fun venue, you know, and to try out different beers and sing different music. So to do some, you know, virtual choir performance, that didn't feel real authentic to what we were all about. So I just gave a real simple poll. I'd be happy to share it with Raul or anybody else, just about some options I came up with. And what I'm going to do is form a little task force within my singers, the people who clearly really want something, and I want to provide them with something. So we're gonna just brainstorm and just kind of make this work. You know, I developed DCL to meet the needs of people in this range of 21 to 45-ish who were choir singers in high school and college, and just like want to continue that community more than anything else. And so I'm trying to stay true to who we are and pivot in that direction by using what they are needing to fulfill that. It's not about what I want or what I need. It's really about them. So so that's kind of where I'm at. We haven't done hardly anything other than a couple of little updates in the last couple of weeks, but we're looking ahead to move forward. You know, we run as an LLC, which is a little bit different than probably most of you all. So in terms of budget, we are pretty okay. You know, if we're not doing concerts, we're not spending a lot of money. So I'm just kind of riding steady and trying to reduce whatever costs we can for the time being. I don't know what it'll look like next season in terms of membership and fees and all of that. Depends on what content we're providing for singers. So I know that there are people out there that want to help in whatever way they can. So I always try to find ways for people to contribute when they would like to do that. I think that, you know, a way that we can be resources for each other, Joel and I had talked a few times about getting this type of a group together, and I'm really excited to finally make that happen. And then Kyle Fleming, who's also on this call, is the president of Colorado ACDA, and I serve on that executive board. And we're retooling the whole summer conference this year. It's going to be nearly free. It's going to be much shorter and much more condensed. And again, hopefully to meet the needs of what people need in terms of sharing resources, commiserating with each other, holding space for each other as we all navigate this really scary future. So I would encourage you, if you're not a Colorado ACDA summer conference, you know, annual member, maybe consider it this year, just because we're really trying to make it work in a concise way. So yeah, I think I'm really interested to hear what other choirs are doing, because I don't have nearly any answers. So I'm really excited to connect with you all more and just hear what's successful. And I'm taking some notes here from what you all have said. So I appreciate you sharing all of that with us. Yeah, and I look forward to working with you all in the future.
Little chat in the chat line. Just a reminder that tonight at 11:59 is the deadline for early registration for the Chorus America conference. It's all virtual. It looks like to be a really exciting virtual conference. First time we've ever done anything like that. So
Joel, it is actually 9:59 because the 11:59 p.m. is for the East Coast.
Fantastic.
So
Thank you for saying that.
Easy, the early registration fee, you got to do it tonight before 10 o'clock.
Yeah. And so, you know, I've let Chorus America know that we're meeting tonight, and they're very excited to find out some of our concerns coming away from this meeting. And so I'm going to follow up with them on that. Great. Keith. Arnold.
Thank you. Hello, I am Keith Arnold. I'm representing the Voices of Light Chamber Choir. I'm here with our Executive Director, Ron DeVries. Voices of Light Chamber Choir was formed in 2011 as a chamber choir to sing primarily new music. We're the chamber choir in residence at Bethany Lutheran Church's Festival of Faith and the Arts. And so we do about 3 concerts a year. We have 16 singers. Meeting a couple of weeks before each concert. So we don't have a regular rehearsal night. We're more like a project-based group, so we come together for those concerts. We had just finished recording a piece in February that for an art gallery display at the Arvada Center. We were collaborating with a sculptor to do. She's creating music, a piece of sculpture based on a piece that I wrote, and we just barely made it under the wire. Recorded that when everything closed down. So I think the Arvada Center is still going to be doing this exhibit this summer, but we won't be singing at the grand opening. It'll just be the recording of it. We, like some others, choruses have been mentioned, our budget is fairly low. We're kind of umbrellaed under the Festival of Faith and the Arts. So for next season, we don't feel necessarily any budget pushes. So we're staying pretty open to inventing the season as it comes. A number of our singers sing in multiple locations, so it doesn't quite have the same family feeling that other choruses or other groups might have. We come together and we work well together, but I think our folks who are feeling that need for singing together, I think we're missing it, and I'm missing it, but it's maybe a little different in that way. I don't know if Ron DeVries, I see you've unmuted yourself. I invite you to say anything. I know we also received some funds from one of the grants.
Yes, it was the EIDL grant that I applied for. Keith mentions our dynamic is a little bit different because we do meet for about a month before the concerts in a compressed schedule. But there are a number of us who have been singing with the group since the very beginning, and I feel very close to those people, and I do miss them a great deal. Yeah. We did a virtual happy hour a few weeks back to just touch base and talk to those that could participate. We usually have a big hiatus between a January-February concert and then another concert in June, so we're in the middle of or right at the end of what is normally a big hiatus for us. We were due to start rehearsals this weekend, actually, for the June concert. So we normally have this big break and come together, all the more rested from spring break activities and really wanting to get together again. So I think a poll of our members to see how they're feeling about doing something like a virtual sing-along or something of that nature is a good idea to kind of get us all back connected again as we normally would at this time of year.
I'm sorry it took a global pandemic for us to get together. It is really, I feel encouraged just coming into the Zoom room to see these colleagues here.
Thanks, Keith and Ron. Tom, if you have not yet seen the video that Tom worked on, go check it out. It pretty much sums up everything that I've asked you to talk about in many ways. But Tom, tell us about that project and what else you have going on.
Yeah, so I won't recreate all of that video, but do go to arsnovasingers.org and you can see it. It's on our front page there. It's really kind of what we're doing now is, and I'm sure all of us are just being cheerleaders for going forward, for both to our patrons and our audiences as well as to our singers. So, and that takes a lot of mental resources and a lot of resources that we are not used to expending. But we're going along. We've scheduled two independent virtual choir projects. We have one that we're just finishing this weekend, which is we asked all of our singers to find their high school graduation pictures, and some going back to we have a couple people who graduated, in the 60s, 70s. But we have a high school apprentice in our group who's of course missing the whole end of her senior year, and so we're doing this as a surprise graduation project. So having a couple of projects like that people can really sink their teeth into and commit to makes it feel like we're able to continue together in really meaningful ways. Of course, like everybody, we've suspended our activities indefinitely. We have been brainstorming and have come up with a pretty good list of some projects that we are looking forward to doing even in this interim period. We are a professional choir that we pay our singers, so we're finding ways that we can continue to do that. We have two 3/4 time staff people that are, fortunately, we've been in a financial position to be able to continue those positions really indefinitely, which is a great place to be. One of the things that I would encourage everyone to do that we've already made the initial contact is get together or find somebody who can make contact with your county board of health and let them know what you want to do and when and where you want to do it, because we're starting to explore unusual outdoor spaces for 15-20-minute concerts. It's as an opportunity to get a group of, starting with groups of 8 from within the group to rehearse a small set of music, some of which may be things that we've done before, and to be able to do them in outside venues. So we're actually doing in Boulder, we're planning an underpass series to get people together for 15-20-minute underpass singing. It's not so much even for the broader community as it is for keeping the singers together and going on things. We're looking at some great collaborative projects, both online, mostly online, both with composers. We're looking at a couple of recording projects that we can schedule in the early part of next year when we would be gearing up to do concerts. We might be able to get groups of 8, 10, 12 people to be able to record together in a certain environment. We're struggling a bit with any kind of location issues because a lot of the churches have closed down to outside groups completely. So we are, if people have ideas about other spaces, I know that Broomfield Auditorium is a space that has recently geared up for live streaming. Uh-oh. I think we lost. I lost you. Can you still hear me?
We still hear you and see you.
Okay. I lost you. In any case, I can see Joel only. Okay, well, I'll just finish up. So we are doing what we can to keep going. Fortunately, we have applied for and received the PPP funding. So we're able to maintain our budgeting for the most part, although our expenditures and how we're using the budget is completely changing. I think the positives have been that we were able to connect with all of you and also with our singers in different ways, our former singers around the world. We're bringing them back together to do a project, a virtual project with people that we haven't seen in a long time. So that's a great thing. I'm hopeful that we can use this resource and share each other's ideas to do what we can to keep things going. One of the things I reminded both our patrons and our board and our singers about is this is not this has happened really throughout human history, and vocal music has not gone away. We've been, in some respects, in the last 15, 20 years, we're entering another golden age of it, I think, especially how we're able to connect with people and ideas and composers and music around the world without the limitations we used to have. So I think there's still some good positives. It's shell-shocking to a lot of people. We lost one of our fairly recent board members to the virus. He was 80. And in my church choir, we lost one of our members from 20 years ago. So we've had two people close to the organization that we've lost to this. So it's hit people really quite hard. But I think if we can offer that as much positivity about going forward and just determination that we will go forward, I think that's helpful to everyone. So thank you, Joel, for putting this together. It's been most enlightening.
Thanks, Tom. What's the status of Voces 8? Is that still on the books for next year? Or is that...
we actually have until, for those of you who don't know, we had signed a preliminary contract to bring Voces 8 to Boulder and to Denver for 2 concerts next year. We were going to perform the first portion of the program with them. It's all on, we haven't signed the final, we took an extension to get for the final contract because we don't know whether they're going to be touring even by next March. And we don't know whether that's going to be practical to get, to expect audiences that can support that by that date. So I think our board is leaning towards putting it off for at least a year, but I'll certainly let you know.
I found a lot of joy watching what Voces 8 is doing these days. If you haven't checked out what they're doing, go do it. They're doing some fantastic just content on the web and great, it's just a lot of joy coming out of that organization. Sara Michaels, the full-time business manager with Kantorei, and maybe she has some things to add that I missed.
There we go. Hi, everyone. I think you covered it mostly, but I did want to add that we have done a couple virtual gatherings. I don't remember if you mentioned that, but with as many of our members that could come, we have about 60, and it was awesome. And it was in like a GoToMeeting or Zoom format. And yeah, it was just really cool to check in and hear from everyone. And it was, yeah, we got a lot of really positive feedback from that. So I would just, those of you talking about it, it's great and you should do it. Yeah, other than that, it's just really great to see everyone's faces and, faces with the names and hear your plans and hear your voices. And yeah, it's just really cool. So that's it. I don't have much more to say. Thanks.
Mr. Zeman, board member, did you have anything to add? Okay. Roger.
It's been really enlightening to listen to everybody talk about this. We're all almost in the exact, everybody's repeating the same thing. And our group is doing the same thing. Just what Kelly said, we're really trying to keep in touch with everybody. We've got board meetings going. We've got contingency plans. There's a lot of stuff going on. So glad to be a part of this. Let's keep in touch with it. Very helpful.
Thank you. Roger.
Roger Holland, Director of the Spirituals Project over at University of Denver. In many ways, there's a lot of uniqueness in this gathering, and ours is not particular in our uniqueness, or perhaps so, in that the Spirituals Project choir is essentially a community group that's existed for the last 20 plus years and now is part of the University of Denver. And while the choir of the Spirituals Project remains largely a community group, this year the choir became part of the course offerings at the university. And what has been interesting for me and a little strange is that this entire year we've had no students until this particular quarter, and DU's on the quarter system. And because of things shutting down, I wound up with 6 students in the choir, and their participation as registered, taking the course for credit, lends a different kind of an expectation and a requirement. And so I'm juggling the community participation, which has continued, and the course requirements for students who are taking the choir for credit, which lends for an interesting type of dynamic. So for the last 5 weeks, we've been having what I'm calling Community Mondays, where both aspects of the group come together. And we've been having Zoom rehearsals, essentially sectional rehearsals, which has been challenging because, as everybody knows, we can't sing all together. And so what I have promised the members is, because probably like so many of you, I insist on hearing, I must know what everybody's singing. So I asked them to sing their parts separately for me, but only by volunteer basis. Many of them feel panicked by singing in front of me or any other people. So I usually get about 3 to 4 volunteers from the community group, and it's a way for me to monitor how they are progressing with some repertoire that we are trying to continue. Now, I'll speak to that a little more later. And then on Wednesdays, I meet separately with my students who are enrolled in the choir as a group. So for the Spirituals Project Choir, we tend to do about 10 concerts a year. We've averaged about 10 a year since I took over about 4 years ago. And this year's schedule was more or less bottom heavy. We had about 6 to 7 more concerts to do before the end of our season. And it, as everybody says, ended abruptly around March 15th. We were able to do our winter concert in February, which was really great, but then everything came to a grinding halt. It's somewhat bittersweet and ironic, as this weekend we were going to conclude our season with a national conference over 3 days, beginning yesterday the 14th and ending tomorrow, culminating in a concert. So many of us are mourning the loss of that national conference, which would have taken place at the university. So we have about 60 community members. We were somewhat dormant for about 2 weeks. And then during that time, many people expressed their desire to have some kind of communal gathering. And that's when we started doing the Zoom rehearsals and meetings. So in terms of next year, our financial situation is certainly tethered to the university. So in some regard, I don't have a whole lot of financial concerns other than what the university itself is dealing with. DU is heavily dependent upon tuition for its revenue. And right now, we don't know what that's going to look like. Many universities around the country are struggling with in-person or virtual instruction, and DU has not settled on that as of yet. There's been a lot of discussion, but as of now, there's been no definitive decision that has been made. So we don't know. I have a lot of things I've been thinking about. One thing is certainly what do we do with the conference that we were planning for this year. So one of the things that I instituted when I arrived was a triennial programming where every 3 years we had one major event. And this year was the national conference. Next year we would likely be doing a symposium. So I'm thinking about continuing with that, but thinking how we would do pretty much everything virtually, because things seem to be very uncertain as to when large groups will be able to gather again. So I am not confident that we would be doing in-person gathering even by January or February. So I'm thinking about things going forward virtually for the entire year. A symposium as our major, at least educational event, seems to be the most simple to put on. It wouldn't require a whole lot of work. A lot of conferences, even as we've been talking about, Chorus America is going to be happening virtually. So I think that's something that we can very likely manage in terms of programming next year. The other thing I'm thinking about is how to keep my singers engaged. Some of them, I heard one person, at least a couple of people talk tonight about if we're not preparing for a concert, why are we rehearsing? And so one of the things I'm thinking about is how we can use perhaps this virtual choir method as a means towards giving people something to work towards. of course, at least for me, my challenge is most of my singers are not trained singers. They don't have any formal musical training or musicianship skills, and those are things that we would develop during the rehearsal. And so some of the repertoire we do is very rhythmically challenging, and even in these last few weeks, it's been made very clear to me that they're struggling with these kinds of complicated rhythms. And without being physically with them to, what I would say, kind of pull them along, it's very challenging. So I'm thinking of ways, just being in this conversation with you all tonight, I'm thinking that maybe what I can offer them are some separate musicianship classes over the course of the next year, where we just meet to try to build up their musicianship. But those are just some of the things I'm thinking about. In terms of positive and uplifting things, certainly what has come to light is the fact that for the majority of our members, especially in a community group, the community engagement is as, if not more important than the actual singing. And so to find ways to remain in community throughout this whole pandemic is taking kind of precedence for that. And so trying to find ways that we can maintain community. We have about, I think I mentioned already, about 60 members in the choir. And so far, the participation in these Monday night community rehearsals has been very good. We have about 50 people that show up for these. And part of what I do, in addition to the music, usually at the beginning, we just do a check-in. The Spirituals Project Choir has a mission statement that we recite at the beginning of every rehearsal. And that has also, we maintain that. And I find that that has served to help keep us focused and remind us of why we're doing what we do. And that has certainly been very, very helpful. So that's pretty much it for me.
Thanks, Roger. Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Gaudreau, and I'm the musical director for Evergreen Chorale and the artistic director for Ovation West Performing Arts, which is the umbrella organization above the chorale, and also music director for Altezza Chamber Chorale. The Evergreen Chorale is starting its 49th year, and Ovation West is, I think, 3 years old right now. Yeah, strange times. There's 85 people currently singing. We were in the middle of the last few rehearsals for a Requiem concert with Evergreen Chamber Orchestra when we had to shut down, so we didn't get to perform that concert. We just canceled the Evergreen Music Festival. Altezza was supposed to have a collaboration with the Thomas Dance Project for that festival, so that's gone. Our December concert is still kind of penciled in, African Christmas music, but I'm coming around to the realization that that's probably not going to happen. We have for next season a Valentine's Day Altezza concert planned. And then we're doing Vaughan Williams' Sea Symphony with Jefferson Symphony Orchestra in May 21. And Bill Morris and I are hopeful that that might actually happen. He says that orchestral conductors have the same problems because of the wind sections, right? Lots of droplets. So we hope that my hope is certainly that we can start rehearsing again in January, February, but who knows? Our choir is very multi-generational. We have 8 to 10 high school interns, and then singers in their 20s, 30s, all the way to 80s. So I'm especially concerned for my seniors and their health, and certainly don't want to start again until it's completely safe to do so. On the positive side, this has brought about for our organization a flurry of grant writing. Ovation West does not only do choral music, we have a musical theater arm, we have an educational arm, we own a theater space in Evergreen, so it's a fairly large organization. We have 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff and a bunch of contractors. So we immediately jumped at applying for a lot of grants. We received the PPP, the EIDL. We've applied for the Jeffco Hope Fund. You might want to check that out if you're in Jeffco. We did apply for the Colorado Creative Industries COVID-19 fund, and we just applied for another private grantor, Max and Virginia Dreyfus Foundation, to underwrite part of our next season. We've named that season Kaleidoscope Season because I came up with the original big pieces that we had programmed for SCFD in February, which are all kind of questionable. So there's choral music, and then there is some pretty large musical theater productions. And I created a bunch of small productions, 9 of them, that we plan to perform virtually or in person with the option to purchase virtually for those who can't come out. And so we're planning to plug in those various puzzle pieces as we can, depending on what the health situation dictates. So it's kind of like a kaleidoscope, you know, we shake it up, we'll just have to see what kind of picture it will be. And I hope we can stay engaged with our audiences like that and get through this next season. In terms of our singers, we have continued Monday night meetings, and people have really appreciated that. We meet every Monday night at 6:30 to talk, and that's turning into a little bit of rehearsal starting next week because we are doing a virtual choir project. I fought against it at first, but I've come around to finding that people really appreciate it. While it's maybe not a musical experience all the way because we don't really sing together, we can't make ensemble with each other. I think it's an important community experience, an important symbolic experience. And I'm doing also a project with my church choir at Welcher, choral project like that, and I'm excited about it. We're also doing a project like that with the children's choir at Welcher, and the kids are all excited to be singing together. So I think that's really good. And my hope is that we'll get surprised and there'll be a treatment, you know, a really, maybe not a vaccine right away, that'll take time, but a treatment could happen any day, right? Something that keeps people from getting terribly sick and dying. That would make all the difference in the world. And then we could sing together again, and that would be wonderful.
Thanks, Christine. Tim and MB Kreuger representing the other professional, fully professional choir in the region.
Yeah, well, I want to echo quite a bit of what I've heard. You know, thanks to you, Joel, for sort of doing this, and I think it's wonderful that we have so many faces on this screen, and it's great to see it, to see everybody. Like all of you, we haven't technically canceled our June concert yet, believe it or not. But we know it's not happening. But we just have not technically canceled it yet because we're looking into certain other things to create some sort of an event in place of a concert. And in fact, to sort of echo what Christine said, as we look towards the fall, I want to be ready. Should a treatment, you know, as you said, things have changed from day to day sometimes, and so we want to be prepared. So as we look towards creating our 2020-2021 budget, we've made 3 of them. One is the very unlikely event that there would be a treatment between now and August or September, and that we would have a full fall season in person. That's highly unlikely, but we have a contingency plan just in case. Then the second budget is where we have a what we're calling a virtual fall, where we like Tom said, we'll get small groups together. We'll have to work out how it would all be possible, but I'm confident that you could get a quartet together or a sextet or an octet and rehearse outdoors with masks, etc., and then present some sort of a live streamed concert. So that's our second budget. Our third budget is assuming we don't do anything in the fall at all. And so we have all three budgets. We set a challenge for ourselves to make sure that each of the three balanced. It was hard in a couple of cases, but that's what our board of directors has been working on. And one thing I'd like to ask people is, assuming that our first concerts will be live streamed concerts rather than in-person concerts, what are people's recommendations in terms of live stream platforms? I know I've seen Facebook, but I also know that Facebook only broadcast or streams in mono. It's not possible to stream in stereo. So I'm wondering, are there other options for live streaming a concert other than Facebook? And yeah, so I'll turn it over to my wife.
Oh, I'm in academia. I don't know if you need to hear from me. But I'll just tell you that it looks like for the fall, we won't have choir, but we're going to see if we can have vocal chamber music and rehearse outside.
Tim?
Yes.
Most of the concerts that we see, the big productions that they claim that they're live streaming, the performers actually record themselves ahead of time. And possibly there's an MC that's live, but none of the music is live. If you want quality, you got to pre-record it.
Well, we're thinking about doing live music.
No, I understand that, but I'm not sure if anybody has solved that problem.
Right.
Maybe one of the TV stations would be willing to collaborate.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea. I'll look into something like that. Thank you, Leah.
And we'll talk a little bit later about creating a forum where we can have sort of these ongoing discussions and I don't know if that's a new another Facebook group or what exactly that looks like, but we'll figure that out at the end, or I'll create a little team to talk about that. Mark, do you have anything to add about the women's chorus? Mark Zwilling? Nope. Okay, great. As Katy mentioned, Kyle's with us today, and he is the president of ACDA. They'll be hosting their conference. Actually, Kevin Podworski wasn't able to be with us today, but Kevin is the head of, he's the R&R chair for community choirs. And so Kevin and I have been talking a lot over the last year about creating this group and how we can grow this consortium of adult choirs in addition to all the other choirs. And it's so great to see Kyle here as well. And so we welcome you, Kyle, and be ready to hear from Kevin Podworski down the road too.
Hi, folks. It's great to see faces and excited to learn more about some of the ensembles that are new to me. I direct the Colorado Repertory Singers. They're about 18 years old, similar to a lot of your choirs, so pretty mixed age range, and we do 3 concerts a season. And I think everyone's hit the challenges that apply to us in terms of just budget and concerts. And my singers are surprisingly kind of spread out across the board in terms of what they'd like to do next year. Some of them are deathly afraid to come to rehearsal, and others of them, get on the phone and they're like, listen here, Kyle, I walked the earth for 40 years before you were born. I'm not afraid of no COVID. Let's just sing, damn it. So, it's everything. I would add I would echo Katy's sentiment, just to encourage you to check out ACDA. I hear Leah's input that ACDA doesn't always kind of cater and have a lot to offer for community choirs, but I think Colorado is so unique. Look at this screen. All of you represent singers. And it's so important that these community choirs are connected to the educators, because that's where your singers come from. And the biggest loss that we see in singing always happens between when they walk across the graduation stage and start jobs. And I just find it so thrilling that we've overcome some of those gaps and retained people singing through their entire careers and their entire lives and rearing kids and starting jobs. So I would just encourage you to check out ACDA and let us know how we can help you. If there are things we can provide, we're happy to try and make it go. It'll be kind of a pared down virtual conference, third week of July, Monday and Tuesday. You can check out call.acda.org. Like Katy said, it'll essentially be free, so maybe $5, but we'd love to have your voice there. You bring a tremendous amount of expertise. I think the most hopeful thing that gets me jazzed about maybe hidden blessings of COVID-19 is that I do think that given that we do the same thing essentially, it's funny how divided we get between church choir directors and community choir people and professional choruses. And it's amazing that we have the same heart passion, but we're so siloed. But here's the deal. If you direct a choir, you can empathize right now with anyone across the field. We feel the same things. I don't care if you're teaching 6-year-olds or 60-year-olds, if it's in a sacred setting, secular, or you do pop show choir. If you direct a choir, you feel the same things right now. That's unity.
Thanks, Kyle. Brian, what's behind you? Brian Leatherman, sorry, Brian Leatherman.
That's Bisbee. He's not really that big. He only weighs 10 pounds. Boy, it's great to see all of you guys. Back years ago when Classic Chorale was going, and now this will happen to you when you get to my age. Who directed Classic Chorale? Well, anyway, he did
Gerald Lipinski.
Thank you. Gerald did a survey for ACDA back in the 60s, and Denver had more community choruses per capita than any metro area in the United States. I bet we're still the same. I direct 3 groups. I've just finished my 25th year with the Cherry Creek Chorale, which just finished their 40th season. And then 5 years ago, I started the Encore Chorales, which are non-audition daytime choirs for seniors, people 55 or better. We've got about 130 to 140 at any time at Cherry Creek. We've got over 230 singers with the Encore groups in 2 groups, one in Highlands Ranch and one in Littleton. We were lucky. We were able to get in our mark. We did see, even though it's a popular concert, usually it's our Celtic concert, we did see a little limitation of audience compared to what we would normally see. Normally that would sell out. But we got it in, and then we ended up gradually, after a couple weeks of postponing, we realized we just had to cancel the rest of the season. My senior choirs worked for 12 weeks, so they already had their music. So Cindy and I started recording virtual rehearsals. We would get together at her place or my place, and just I would plan a rehearsal and just run through it and send it out over YouTube. And I think we had some pretty good engagement with that. In all of those cases, we consider ourselves singing families. So it was great to stay in touch. To stay in touch with Cherry Creek, I'm sending out weekly things to get them excited about the repertoire that's in the pipeline, whether we sing it next season or the season after that. I'll be doing the same thing with our Encore groups. And then I'm tailoring the Cherry Creek Chorale messages, editing them, and then sending them out to our patrons. We were going to get together later this month and talk about our budget, but Cindy, who is also our executive director, and I were talking about the fact that the budget shouldn't be dictating the season, but the season should be dictating the budget. So next Tuesday, we're going to get together and have a what if, an outside of the box thing, outside of the box thinking session about what we can do. Will we be very unlikely that would be a 4-concert season. I'm talking for Cherry Creek. More likely 2, possibly 3 if we can get in a December concert. but then based on that, we'll decide what our budget is. We're in pretty good shape, both with the Encore budget and Cherry Creek's budget, and they're continuing to pay us, although here at some point I'll just say, no, stop. I wanted to share with you, on the basis of doing those virtual rehearsals, I began to discover some things that I would like to continue once normal happens again. For instance, I believe that I'm going to start recording every rehearsal I do with my senior choirs. What I do on Monday, I repeat on Friday with the other group, so I can record one of those. But with Cherry Creek Tuesday night, I'm going to record the rehearsals and then put them out on YouTube so that people can refer to them, or if they miss them, or they missed part of the rehearsal or whatever. Another thing that I found, I was trying to go through some pieces, and especially with my senior choirs, there are people who have anywhere from their former symphony chorus members to people who've never sung in a choir. And we were going through a piece that was rather tricky rhythmically, and I used my phone and went through my score and pointing with my finger and showed them my markings to show them where the beat was and how the beat lined up with the music. That's something I'm going to continue to do with both choirs and share my score markings. It's a quick and easy way to do it, and say, okay, your homework for next week, take a look, I'm going to post a video, get your score marked. I think it's a much more efficient way to do it. I want to share something with you before I sign off, and that is, I am a big fan of a guy named Darren Hardy, and I listen to him every morning. And he had a session or a little podcast on overcoming any obstacles. And he had a 4-point plan. Number 1, get a grip and deal gracefully without complaining, because everybody's going through it or has gone through something. Number 2, control what you can control and let the rest go. Number 3, ask for help. And number 4, keep moving and focus only on the next step. And this is the way I took this, and I've shared this with my choirs and gotten a lot of great feedback. Number 1, everyone in music is facing this. Whining or worrying won't help. Smile, breathe. I'm going to take care of myself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Number 2, I can't control what choir members or our patrons will do. I can't control what our venues and partners will do. I can control my responses, my planning, and my actions. From day 1 of this situation, I told myself, control what you can and let go of the rest. Number 3, I'm not in this alone. I can communicate with our stakeholders, our choral colleagues, and that's why I was so thrilled. It was shortly after I kind of wrote this plan down, Joel, that you came up with this. And I think it's important that we get together to gather ideas and support each other, but be careful not to catch the contagion of worry or fear. And then finally, I will keep moving by planning next year's repertoire, making game plans with backup plans and backup plans to my backup plans, brainstorming creative options, and working toward and expecting the best while creating options and not attaching to those outcomes. I'm also a big fan of Mike Dooley. Maybe you get his notes from the universe. As he would say, you assess your options, choose the 2 or 3 least sucky ones, and continue to take baby steps forward. So thank you, Joel, for putting this together. And it's just great to see all your faces.
Thanks, Brian. Boy, I don't know if I'd want my rehearsals put on YouTube in perpetuity and for everybody else to see. There are some things that I say in rehearsal that I don't. Anyway, let's see. We have 3 at the bottom that I don't see faces, and unfortunately, but Allison, Margaret, and Krista. Do you have something? Is there one of you that's from a new organization, or are you from ones that have presented already? Do you have anything to share with us? I guess not. Fantastic. Well, this has been a long meeting, and I know most of us are kind of living online these days, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I'm going to ask Katy, because she and I have had conversations earlier about this. If Katy, you'll help me kind of compile some of the thoughts and ideas here, and maybe assist in now that you've kind of come out of your hibernation, we can continue our conversations about how we can continue to build the database of community-based choirs in all of Colorado, actually. I think that would be good. I would like to also suggest that we send a very simple one-page kind of questionnaire for you to fill out some of the information. I don't want to spend the time now doing it, but what I'm very interested in finding out are your choir size, your budget size, your staffing situation. I think we'll be able to find some commonalities within this group and be able to relate to other choirs that are of similar nature, similar repertoire, but also similar budget size, etc. Is there anything anyone else coming out of this would like more of? I mentioned the idea of creating yet one more Facebook group. I don't know if that's needed or wanted or desired, but some way to continue kind of the conversation in more of a less formal way, and then maybe to reconvene this meeting on occasion, but I don't know what that means. So kind of open floor right now for those kind of discussions. Brian Leatherman.
One of the things I was thinking is we could maybe do subsets, like those of us who are choirs like mine, volunteer community choruses, maybe the larger choruses, and then another for the professional group, another for the, to share information that might be more pertinent, to groups of our particular size.
That was kind of the thinking behind developing that one page, is that we can kind of then see who our like choirs are that we can relate to. One thing that I want to be very careful about, and it's because I've been on both ends, I think that in Chorus America for a long time, the professional choirs were really kind of left out of a lot of the dialogue because they did separate all the choirs out by their species. Sometimes that's very beneficial for those groups, but at other times, I think we're all at a loss because we do those subsets. So I don't know if that's been your experience. Anything else people would like to see walking away from this meeting other than getting all the contact information, finding more about the kind of nuts and bolts of each choir?
I would just like to say, if you all know of other people that we might not have thought of or known to connect with, please do let Joel, or I'm happy to kind of be a port of information as well. It's kind of hard to figure out who are all the people that should be in a group like this. So certainly this is not an exclusive situation. So if there's anybody who you know of, any choir out there that's not represented here, yeah, please let us know.
And what I'll do is I'll make that list that Nathan has helped compile, and Katy, I think you already have that too, and work with ACDA to find out, what we already have and make that public to you all so that we can help fill in some of those gaps to see who we're missing. Anything from anybody else? It's great to see you all. It's great to meet many of you for the very first time virtually. I don't know what to say. I appreciate, Brian, some of the things that you said in your conversation there at the end, and I think that's all we can do right now. So thank you all for taking the time. I'm off to another board meeting right now, and so we'll keep in touch. Okay. Take care.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.